Loomis County, Sierra County, Nevada County, Sutter County, Colusa County, El Dorado County, San Joaquin County, Solano County, Calaveras County. You better get out of the road here. The road. Most people use it to go to work, but when I'm on the road, I'm already at work. Storytelling takes me to a lot of different places. The ABC-10 transmitter broadcasts to 16 different counties. That's a big coverage area. It's about a quarter of the counties in the entire state. And I've had the privilege of doing multiple stories in each one of those counties. So sit down, turn the volume up, because over the next half hour, I'm gonna take you on a 16 county journey and show you 16 of my favorite stories. First stop, Loomis County, in the railroad town of Portola, where you can learn to operate a real train. Portola is the only incorporated town in Loomis County, and it's the only place where you can learn to operate a train.
Hi, my name is Bill. I'm the Chief Mechanical Officer here at Western Pacific Railroad Museum.
Normally it takes years of practice to operate a locomotive, but at the Western Pacific Railroad Museum, they bend the rules.
This is the parking brake.
You always want to start with the parking brake on.
Yeah.
Today, I'm getting a crash course in locomotive operation. So basically, we're in the parking lot so I can learn to drive now.
That's correct.
You don't actually drive a train, you operate it, and it's complicated. So we're gonna move this to...
That will go in number one when you're ready. Okay, but you're not ready.
We're not ready. We forgot the bell. There's also a lot of hazards on the track. There's a deer back there. All right, coming back. Operating a locomotive is really a once-in-a-lifetime thing for many people, and you can't beat the view riding down the tracks in Loomis County. Sierra County is one of the least populated counties in our viewing area. 3,000 people. They may be small, but on the 4th of July, Downeyville was poppin'. Welcome to Downeyville's fireless firework display.
Yeah, the rolls are 4 feet wide, 250 feet long.
If you can't tell, that's 2 large rolls of packing bubble wrap.
We cannot have fireworks in Sierra County.
Dan and his wife Ingrid started the fire safe tradition 14 years ago.
And I saw the bubble wrap roll in the packaging aisle, and I said, let's do it.
The fireless display spans most of Main Street, but despite its length, the show doesn't last long. We're coming up on the grand finale! What do you like about it?
I like that it was loud and you were able to run on it.
It can be hard to celebrate 4th of July without fireworks, but when your town is surrounded by a fragile forest, the people of Downeyville have found a way to do it safely. A man's home may be his castle, but a man in Amador County made a castle home for his odd collection in Sutter Creek. In Pine Grove, the talk of the town is just a few miles from where Steve Cabello works.
And he keeps adding more and more all the time.
The oddities showed up 4 years ago.
Sort of like a mystery, yeah.
Locals call this the Amador Castle. What's a Ferris wheel doing all the way out here? If you ask John Hertzik, he calls it money well spent.
Just something I always wanted. I don't know why.
This 31-acre property off Ridge Road is John's showcase for his wild collection.
Carney guys, today I got this great deal for y'all. Let me say you this, let me say you that, and this is how I ended up with the rest of this stuff.
John is a local boy, an entrepreneur of sorts. He made a good living with construction and property investments. Nowadays, the 72-year-old is living it up. So John, I gotta ask you, why?
They have to have something to do. Keeps your mind occupied. It keeps everybody talking about someone, whether it's good or bad.
So you'd rather have people talk about you than maybe gossip amongst themselves?
That's true. They have to have somebody to talk about.
Wet socks are a common occurrence for me. Last August, I stepped into Colusa County and found myself ankle deep in crawdad-infested rice fields. Next stop, the city of Colusa. Every summer, they invade Colusa County.
They're not indigenous, so I don't know how they got out here.
Paul doesn't know a lot about the crawfish he's catching, but he does know that rice farmers hate them.
They actually eat the vegetation.
Not only are freshwater lobsters hungry, but they're also destroying irrigation canals.
What they do is they burrow down into the ground and they create little burrows that go through the levee. And down here we had the whole levee break out and it'll empty a field in an hour.
All right, so Paul just emptied out his traps and now we're headed over to the processing plant in Calusa. This is where Raul Martinez takes over.
The big crawfish and this one like the regular crawfish going right here.
Raul loves his job, but there is some occupational hazards.
They have big paws.
Yeah. Raul says anywhere from 55 to 100,000 pounds of Calusa crawfish will be shipped all over the U.S. So keep up the good work, Paul. There's a lot of crawfish boils waiting for these pesky and delicious crawfish. The Sierra foothills are peppered with small towns and small schools. Back in May, I was in the little town of Washington in Nevada County, where I met up with a teacher at a one-room schoolhouse.
There's a couple of you that have to do some review and makeup. My name is Trish Gardner. I am the teacher, nurse, counselor, janitor, librarian, principal, secretary, groundskeeper, school liaison, and buyer. Okay, and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble. So I'm an actor and was a professional actor for a long time and decided to go into teaching, and so my bailiwick is drama. So we're doing Alice in Wonderland in the spring. Yes, we only have at present 9 students. However, I'm teaching 6 grades. I-26! We have been facing closure for several years now, where the board did vote to close us 2 years ago. B12! Yeah. Almost. These parents came together so strong and hard and fought for this school.
If you thought the small town of Washington was in the middle of nowhere, think again. Just off Highway 20 in Yuba County, the middle of nowhere is in the gold rush town of Timbuktu. The road to Timbuktu doesn't get much traffic. We are way out here. In 1852, Timbuktu was a bustling gold town founded by this man, Richard Marple.
A storekeeper had been reading a history of Africa, and when he saw Marple coming down the hill, he said, "Oh, here comes the Sultan of Timbuktu."
The nickname stuck, but the town didn't. When hydraulic mining was outlawed, everyone left. Well, almost everyone. Meet Rebecca Carlson.
Otherwise known as Becca Boo from Timbuktu. Sometimes I like to spy on people.
These days, chicken eggs are mined in these gold-filled hills.
Just kidding, there's nobody out here.
Becca's a tough lady. Do you ever get lonely here?
Absolutely not. There's all kinds of things, critters.
Well, if this is what it's like to live in the middle of nowhere, sign me up. Well, I could stay here all day. Coming up on our 16-county tour, we head to Yuba City for a unique workout. All right, so we're continuing our 16-county, 16-story journey through the ABC 10 viewing area. Now, I get a lot of exercise on these stories that I do, but I got the strangest workout in Sutter County with a parrot trainer in Yuba City. Aversize. It's a term coined by Ken back in 2010. Basically, it's running with birds, and he's been trying to promote the new exercise on his Facebook page. So Aversizing, is this something I can do?
Oh yes, anyone can do.
If you're gonna run with some flashy birds, you better dress flashy yourself. Let's aversize. Aversizing is all about repetition. What do we call this move?
Spin.
The workout starts out slow, then speeds up. You sometimes feel like birds of the feather flock together?
Oh yes, we have the same hairstyle.
The birds really pick up the pace at the end of the workout.
Ready, wing, fly.
In all, Ken and his birds cover around 2 miles daily. His route takes him all over Yuba City and through a number of public areas.
I believe aversizing can be a good sport for a wide age range.
Do the birds get dizzy?
I've never asked them.
In the city of Davis, 2 wheels are better than 1. But one Yolo County man found that 1 big wheel is all he needed. If you're not on 4 wheels, you're probably on 2 in Davis. In this bike-friendly town, it's hard to stand out. That is, unless you're Martin Craig. You can stare all you want, but the story behind this bike is bigger than its wheel.
I ride this bike because I was going to go across the United States in 2009 on a high-wheel bike.
Martin is an avid cyclist. He's biked cross-country twice. An amazing feat for someone who was bedbound at an early age.
I was in a coma for 2 months. I clinically died.
Martin was in a horrifying car accident at age 23.
Learn how to walk again, talk again.
Doctors said he would never ride again.
This is more than just any bike that most people can ride.
But mastering the high wheeler has been Martin's way of raising the bar higher.
We realize that we're pure energy. We have no limits. There's nothing we can't do.
When you think bird watching, it may remind you of cardinals or blue jays. In Auburn, vultures dominate the skies. And every year, Placer County bird watchers lose their feathers over it. It doesn't happen very often.
Are you seeing any out there?
But when it does, you have to be looking in the right spot.
9 to noon, the end of September, and you got to be looking up.
I see one.
First, it starts out small.
Right now, it's just a few single birds that are coming up. No, we have a small kettle over here to the right.
But then, it happens.
Oh, they are kettling right here. They're kettling right here. Oh, he just moved. 10, 20, 30, 40.
Every year at about the 1st of October, the skies in Auburn become speckled in black.
Yeah, working that turkey vulture.
Like a layover at an airport, Auburn is just a resting spot for the vultures.
Tijuana special. They're heading for Mexico.
Weather patterns in this small town act as sort of a launching pad.
Whenever you get several birds circling around, we call that a kettle. And we actually call this whole area our stovetop.
When the sun hits the American River Canyon and the city's concrete streets, cool air is heated, transforming it into sort of a propellant for birds.
A lot of concrete, asphalt, a lot of thermals.
See them.
And just like a plane, the bird's departure is quick. Planes, trains, and automobiles. I've been in them all, but in El Dorado County, I rode in a homemade submarine to find out what was at the bottom of Fallen Leaf Lake.
This particular protist is new to science. We've discovered the species.
That's Captain Scott Cassell, and this is his homemade submarine.
Roughly 3,800 pounds, and it took us 10 years to build it.
Scott and his team are at Tahoe's Fallen Leaf Lake, and they're looking for deep water aliens.
It gets fungus-like, plant-like, and animal-like.
At the ripe age of just 15, expert diver Sydney Loomis discovered this rare creature. It's called a protist.
We're still working on classifying it.
This particular protist species is only found in Fallen Leaf Lake.
Well, it's definitely a little cozy in here.
And I got the chance to help search for it.
And the first 3 feet often will leak a little bit.
But the leak I shouldn't worry about, right?
It's normal. It's not a problem.
Worries aside, this homemade submarine is actually pretty safe. Scott and his team of engineers designed it to meet Coast Guard specifications.
Copy that.
Scott's team monitors us from the surface using a robotic sub, and it didn't take long for us to reach 100 feet below the surface. The protists we were searching for live on these sunken trees.
And why do you think it's only here?
Nobody knows.
All right, stay with us as we continue our 16-county journey through the ABC 10 viewing area. When we come back, we're heading to Sacramento to track down an albino deer. All right, so we're continuing our 16 county, 16 story journey through the ABC 10 viewing area. Now I want to show you some rare footage I caught at a Sacramento wetland. An ABC 10 viewer sent us a tip about an albino deer. According to the news tip, the albino deer was spotted on a levee near I-5 in Sacramento. The area is not easily accessible by car. To get to the levee, you have to go through a lot of mud. I left my car at a construction site. Have you guys seen an albino deer around here?
No deer.
Starting to believe that this albino deer is a myth. Just as I was about to give up, I came across a dry patch of land near the interstate. It's real, it exists. The albino deer stuck out like a sore thumb. The interstate was just a few hundred yards from the snow white deer, and it seemed to be following what appeared to be its mother and sibling.
We first saw this guy in mid-September.
This is Brian Young. He manages the Bufferlands, which is a 2,000-acre wildlife reserve that surrounds Sacramento's waste treatment plant.
No, actually the Bufferlands is not open for public access.
Brian says to have an albino deer is extremely rare.
That their lifespan typically isn't that long, and I assume that's because they are quite conspicuous.
All they can do is try to keep people away and hope that the deer stays in the Bufferlands. A second albino deer was born in the Bufferlands back in September. If you thought this was a rare opportunity, well, I got another rare opportunity in San Joaquin County when a riverboat mailman took me out on his route on the Delta's backwaters. Every day starts out the same.
We got a full load today too, actually.
But every day has its own challenges.
There's spots that you don't even think about people would live there.
Rick Stelsreed is a riverboat mail carrier.
I've worked on the route since 2006.
He's the only riverboat postal carrier in California.
I am out here by myself.
6 days a week, Rick boats to 23 different islands on the San Joaquin Delta. The people on Rick's route are in some of the most remote places in the valley.
I got the tide going out.
In this case, there's no place for a mailbox.
Oh, okay, be careful.
Well, that's one way to get your mail, I guess.
Crazy.
Rick enjoys his route and the people he serves. Even dogs love this mailman.
I look forward to coming to work every day. It's never the same.
You still get junk mail out on the Delta here. Thanks. I eat at a lot of restaurants on my travels, but when I was in Solano County, there's a restaurant like no other. Foster's Bighorn in Rio Vista is not known for their food, but their animal head collection. We're sitting in the most popular seat in the joint here, huh?
Yep, you bet.
Welcome to Foster's Bighorn, the sports bar like no other.
There are 255 heads, including the fish.
Pull up a chair because this bar story is a doozy.
This is Bill Foster in Africa.
Bill Foster, an avid hunter and moonshine mogul.
Ran bootleg whiskey during Prohibition.
Business was good for Bill before and after the Volstead Act, and he has the pictures to prove it.
He went all over Kilimanjaro, in Africa, hunted all over Kenya.
Foster's hunting trips ended a week after Kennedy was assassinated.
He died of pneumonia, he wouldn't go to the doctor.
The bar eventually ended up in the hands of the IRS, but it was saved by a local couple in Rio Vista. When they called it quits, Howard Lamoth took charge of the animals.
You certainly have the responsibility of carrying it on, you know, keeping it up for the next guy.
In a way, Foster's Bighorn has become a museum, protected by bar owners, both past and present. Next up on our 16-county journey, we head down to Calaveras County, where we go on a wild emu chase. All right, so we're nearing the end of our 16-county journey through ABC 10's viewing area. I've been on a lot of wild goose chases, but in Calaveras County, I went on my first wild emu chase in Valley Springs. In a town of just 3,500 people, word of the bird traveled fast in Valley Springs. You guys seen an emu around here?
Yeah, he was going up the road this morning.
Just about everyone has seen the elusive emu.
Right up there in the corner where the two fences meet, that's where the emu was at.
Charles White's son snapped a picture of the emu outside his house and even named it.
Don't know if it is a male or female, but we named it George.
Finally, I got a solid lead.
There he is!
Just off Hart Vixen and Partridge Road, I found George, and he was causing quite the ruckus.
Hey buddy, you better get out of the road here.
George didn't seem to be following the rules of the road.
He's been all the way down the street. Calaveras Sheriff's Office.
I couldn't get a hold of Calaveras County Animal Control because of the New Year holiday, but I did file a report. Well, for now, George is free to roam, but if you're driving around in Valley Springs, slow down and keep an eye out for a giant bird. Well, they ended up catching George the emu here. They even found this guy a home. Now, I tried to catch another wild animal out in Tuolumne County, but I didn't have much luck. This next story takes us to Bigfoot country out in Jamestown. Bigfoot sightings are so common in Tuolumne County that Sasquatch has become sort of the unofficial mascot of Jamestown. And that's where Bigfoot researcher Jerry Hine is looking. Jerry's been chasing the elusive animal since the 1970s.
Okay.
And that's why Jerry built this high-tech van in hopes to catch a snapshot of the animal. Do you think this is the best chance you'll have of actually catching him with all of this equipment?
I think so.
The surveillance equipment inside is enough to make local police departments envious. So this isn't your ordinary camper van. Jerry's got cameras from the front of the van to the back. The van's even equipped with Bigfoot music. Doesn't sound very nice there.
No.
Jerry says his last sighting was in 1976 near Angels Camp.
Let me ask you, if you never get that picture, is it gonna matter to you?
No. I've seen them.
I guess if you're following your dreams, it doesn't matter who's riding shotgun. Every county has its own festival of sorts. In Stanislaus County, there's a festival that's just plain nutty. It happens in Oakdale, and it's a bull's worst nightmare. Today is the worst day to be a bull. What do we call these?
They're calf fries, or calf nuts.
All
Testicles, how's that?
Today is the annual Testicle Festival, the Oakdale Rotary Club's biggest fundraiser.
Now, in the old days, they just threw them on the campfire.
Lee Scaife started the odd event 36 years ago. I'll let him tell the story.
In this area, which is a ranching area, there's a lot of people who put on individual little feeds, nut feeds. So I thought to myself, well, why don't the Rotary put on a nut feed so that the whole populace could have a chance to taste these things?
Now, preparing for an event like this is no easy task. It takes Rotarians 8 hours to cook the 477 pounds needed for the festival.
This is not a delicate process.
All kidding aside, the festival helps fund a lot of school and local projects in this small community.
You guys have no idea how good you've got it right now.
Well, I had a real ball shooting that story. In fact, I have a great time shooting all the stories in the ABC 10 viewing area. So if you guys have a story idea for me, send me a message on my Facebook, because I'm always ready to go on the next adventure. John Bartell, ABC 10 News.